Also, the best sign that I have seen so far out of the Writers Guild strike
Scorpio.
has been somebody who had a sign and it just said pay/them. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
Hello, and welcome to Saving People Querying Things, the supernatural podcast where Cass apparently flies at 1.21 gigawatts. Today, we are pulling up to Season 5, Episode 13, This Song Remains the Same. I am your host, Elena, pronouns are she or they, and joining me today are my fantastic co-hosts, Noah and August. Say hello, friends.
Hello.
How are we?
Hello. We're great.
Fantastic. Not super psyched about this episode, not gonna lie.
Really? What is it that you're not psyched about?
Well, you know,
I mean,
I
there's
imagine
one
the
thing.
same thing that you're not excited about.
Okay,
in this
but I
episode.
love this episode despite the fact that I have to say goodbye to my very dearly beloved.
It hurt.
Your gay awakening.
It was very
Yeah.
strong, and I really love time travel. I'm always down with the time travel episode.
That's
but
fair. I do forget that I think the pain of losing Anna has like dulled for me over the years, and it's fresh for you, so
yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah, entirely valid. But this is Team Free Will episode, everybody. So
This is it.
Yeah.
So
assembled.
Noah finally gets to know why our group chat has been named Team Free Will for the last year and a half.
That is yeah, true. That's true.
Noah finally gets to know. I've been waiting for this moment. And I'm so happy we're here.
The group text makes sense
So
now.
is it up to the listeners to assign roles to us, or do we decide?
I was gonna at the end of the episode make us do a tag yourselves.
Oh, we're definitely gonna do that at the end of the
So
episode.
we'll
Okay.
get there.
But for everyone listening, go ahead and tweet at us now your picks and guesses.
Yeah.
And see if you're right at the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
And should we remind them of the three options that they have?
If you're listening to our podcast, if you don't know the three members of Team Free Will,
oh well, no, I was thinking specifically
Shameful.
like the phrases that they use, like
Oh.
do give him hell attitude, ex-blood junkie, and Mr. Comatose over there.
fair.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah. One of those three.
Yeah, we know who Sam and Dean and Cass are, but
Okay.
now that you have met your ex-blood junkie, your GED with a give him hell attitude, and Mr. Comatose, it is time for us to catch you up on the rest of the show. And first up, I'm going to introduce myself to do the recap because we forgot to change the color.
First up, Elena, you are up for recapping the show thus far. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do like just season 5 because
Sounds
everything else
valid.
feels too overwhelming today.
That is
But we're gonna just run through and
reasonable.
see what happens. I've prepared nothing.
Best way to do
wonderful.
it.
Exactly as it should be.
All right.
Okay.
Count me
30
in.
seconds on the clock. 3, 2, 1, go.
So Sam and Dean raise the devil and they're having lots of issues and they find out that they're like some vessels and then everybody has like a whole religious crisis and then Cass and Dean like definitely go hook up or something. And then Dean goes to the future and it really sucks. And then there's like, Paris Hilton is doing some stuff and then they deal with like the Antichrist who never shows up again. And then Dean gets really old and then they like go on TV and like do a bunch of shows and then they go to a fan convention and then everybody dies and it's sad and then they go to a mental institution and Sam becomes a teenager and it sucks.
Damn.
Yeah.
I just want to like slow clap for the fact that I think you touched on every single episode
Step by
or
step.
very
because I was
nearly.
looking at a list of them.
No, you can't say that. Don't give it away. Don't give away the secrets. You're just that good.
Yeah, cut that out. Cut that out, Noah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're just that good at knowing every episode's main plot.
Yeah, great.
Okay, who is recapping this week?
I thought Noah was.
Am I?
Are you?
I
don't know.
can.
Rock,
We
paper,
established
scissors,
that
guys.
neither Noah or I have seen it in several weeks, but
Rock, paper, scissors. Do you go on shoot in Canada or?
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Cool.
it's always hotly debated with the children
Okay,
of
good.
to
good.
go on shoot or not. But yeah,
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
It-
Next up, August is gonna recap this week's episode.
oh boy. Okay,
You want me to count you in?
yes.
All right. And you're on in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so Anna is back and she is gunning for Sam because apparently that's how we stop the apocalypse now. And then she decides that she can't get Sam, so she's going to go back in time and kill Mary and John. Cass takes Sam and Dean back to the 70s and they meet John and Mary again, and and Mary's uneasy, and John finds out about hunting, and ultimately Anna is taken out by Michael.
Boom.
Damn. It hurts still.
Devastation.
It does.
Disgrace.
Well done, though.
Uh,
Well done.
Yeah.
You hit all the corners, all
It
the
was
important areas.
succinct.
we got there.
Enjoyed it. All right, and now that we're all caught up, it is time for us to pick some music to accompany us on our journey. We're going to start our mixtape with Noah today. Noah, what do you got for us?
I went with a pretty sad song because it's a pretty sad episode for me
Mhm.
and any Anna fans out there. I went with Heaven by Amy Allen, written with John Bellion. No big
We
deal.
love John Bellion.
He's so good.
We're a John Bellion stan cast on the
Yes,
DL.
we are. Absolutely.
Not on that DL. I think Noah mentions him about every other episode. So
At least. Hey, John, anytime you want to come on. I know you're a big fan
Yeah.
of the show.
talking about Supernatural.
Absolutely. But so anyway, the chorus ends in you've never been to heaven, but you got pretty close last night, talking about
Oh.
addiction and struggling with that and making choices. And so I feel like that kind of fits with how Anna has been fighting for her own free will in this story this whole time and dies with it still taken away.
And just gets screwed by the narrative. Anyway, I'm not angry about that at all.
Not at all.
Totally
Fine.
won't be a talking point tonight. What is your song though, August?
My song, I was like, we gotta go like era appropriate here. So my song is Can't Find My Way Home, the version by Bonnie Raitt, Lowell George, John Hammond Jr., and Freebo. It's just feels very
Brilliant
70s.
song.
It was featured on This Is Us, which is where I originally like heard it, of course, because
Oh goodness. Oh,
pretty sure that's where I first heard it. But it's
another
really lovely, haunting sort of melody.
and on
And
today's episode of Sentences That Make Elena Feel Old, that you first heard that song on This Is Us.
I mean, well, Elena, you weren't alive when this song was written
No,
either.
but my mom made me listen to this song so much
That's
as a
fair. Okay, that's fair.
I listen to a lot of
Um,
older music because of my mom.
That's fair. Yeah, it felt really like vibey appropriate, for lack of a better term. And yeah, really
Okay.
wanted to go with something from the 70s.
Oh yeah.
Good call.
And I love Bonnie Raitt's voice. It's
Yeah.
really, really pretty.
Elena, how about you?
So I went a little off the wall with my suggestion for this week. My pick is Legacy by Eminem.
This mixtape
It
is
sounds
wild.
like a goofy pick, but then you hear some of the lyrics and you're like, oh, this is about like multiple people in this episode. You've got some lyrics where it's like, and if you fall, I'll get you there. I'll be your savior. All the wars that you fought, have faith in my words. And then just the idea that the song is about legacy and it's, Mary having to deal with like the consequences of her choices and Dean trying to get her to make different ones. And it's
Yeah.
just a whole, this song really like makes me think about this episode. So yeah, that's my pick.
Great take.
Thank you.
Such a great blend tonight.
Yeah, I love that for us.
Yeah.
And now that we've got that mixtape going, it is time for this week's hunt. And today we are exploring the 13th episode of season 5. This song remains the same through the lens of the Empress tarot card.
Ooh.
For those of you who are new, we've been going through this season for our theme discussions and using the Supernatural Tarot deck. And August, I believe, has the Empress card for us, is going to share a little bit about that card. And then I will just sort of share a bit more about the Empress in the wider tarot world.
Yeah, so the Empress is actually the Mary Winchester card in the Supernatural Tarot deck,
Oof.
which is why we wanted to use it for this episode. This episode really centers around Mary in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
And we get to know her a lot better in this episode. And so just reading from the card, the Empress is a powerful, protective, and nurturing maternal figure, much like the Winchester matriarch Mary. The Empress Tarot card advises you to lead with compassion. You'll succeed faster if you nurture and guide others rather than bully and try and force them to doing what you want them to do, which I think is very interesting when we think about Mary's conversation with Dean, finding out that her kids were raised to be hunters and her going like, how could we have done that to you? And I think leading with compassion, not bullying or pressuring other, the kind of person Mary wanted to be but didn't get to be for her sons. This card is a really interesting one in that sense. Elena, tell us more about this card in general.
I
and
shall.
How will it inform our discussion today?
So the Empress card, this one in traditional tarot, it's got, this woman who is very lazing about on her throne, has unbothered by anything. She does have this sort of like crown of stars in the traditional Rider-Waite deck, which is really cool because that's a piece of art that carried over into the supernatural one. Mary has this sort of like halo going on. And yeah, it's very much a card about like feminine power, nurturing, abundance. And so I think the fact that we get to see how like desperately Mary just wants to be a mom in this episode, and how devastated she is to learn that like her kids didn't have the fate that she hoped for them, very much squarely puts her in a Empress like sort of place for the episode. Particularly at the end, like as I'm looking at the art on the original card and she's just kind of lounging there, it does in a weird way kind of remind me of how at the end Mary's just sort of like, yeah, I don't know, I can't put my finger on why I like it, She's just got that little angel watching over baby boy. So wonderful. Oh, but yeah, that's a little bit of background about the Empress Tarot card and how it relates, I think.
Yeah, well, thanks.
No, thank you. And now brings us to our main discussion. So where do we want to kick this off, friends? We've got a lot of feelings, particularly Noah, since this is so fresh for you.
Okay, I mean, so I was so excited to get Anna back, right? Because she's here and she's great and she's definitely cool. But
yeah.
Oh, Anna.
A podcast episode for another day.
I know Anna and Mary don't interact other than to kind of like they're trying to murder each other, but
the parallels.
It's giving. I hope this doesn't awaken anything in me, but
I want an alternate story where Anna and Mary get to be friends / more than friends, because they're both on this pursuit of like freedom from their family and family expectations. And I just think,
I'm not saying I know what your next fanfic should be, but I might be saying I know what your next fanfic
I have read a couple really good Anna Mary fics and they were wonderful. Anyway, we're off track already.
But it's not wrong. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
The Mary Anna ship is an important part of discussion for this episode because of the attack. Like, the stab right at the first meeting is, a tactic we've seen a Winchester use before.
Yeah. It's like, what does this remind me of? Certainly nothing I've seen before on this show of Hunters.
Fellas, is it gay if you...
Yes.
But we also find out, / we already kind of knew, that Cass is the one that turned Anna into heaven, which...
Yeah.
I would argue it wasn't really Cass, It was Cass under duress.
Yeah. I'm willing to like forgive Cass this, but also like that directly leads to Anna's death.
Yeah.
Like she gets brainwashed and like brought back under Heaven's like rule, and everything in this episode like ends up happening because of
what Cass
turns her in. And like
This
Cass is also being manipulated, but it sucks.
If Cass hadn't turned her in, then he and Dean couldn't have escaped, and so it would have been it's just catastrophic.
Yeah.
The show would have gone in a totally different direction had she survived.
Yeah. If Anna had come out and Dean had been able to connect with her again, but he's already too connected with Cass, so he's not gonna,
Yeah, he's taken. He's taken by the angel.
I do hate the opening scene.
Absolutely.
I think it's
hate everything about it.
It does not make any sense that this would be what Jean dreams about.
No. The only thing that was cool about it is, an angel showing up in a dream. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun to see that. It could have been any other dream.
Yeah, which would have like made a lot more sense and been a lot more interesting.
It could have been a scene of Dean and Cass, getting a little too flirty, and then she walks into that. He's like, oh.
And here's the thing, though. We've had like not to dig into like too much lore, because I know we'll probably mention this later, but we've seen an angel visit Dean in a dream before. When Cass visited Dean, he was just like sitting on a dock fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like,
not every dream.
You have like one of Dean's dreams, and an angel visits him, and it's completely innocuous and innocent. But then when it's a woman, suddenly he's at a strip club watching two women.
I don't think it was because a woman was visiting.
Like, I don't know. It just
He's just a moody guy.
Weird.
Yeah, and it's like because him and Anna. I think it's also because him and Anna hooked up.
Yeah, but it makes it so.
The writers wanted to make a dumb little joke.
Yeah,
and I just don't like it.
Didn't think about if it actually applied.
And like they haven't actually really had Dean going around and hooking up with people very much this season at all. It's almost like they felt the need to remind us that like, oh right, this is the character archetype, even though that's not really been the case since season 4 in any major way, like since Hell.
Yeah.
And he was raised out, with help
He'll help his friend.
They talk about Sam and they talk about like Anna's like, you know, heaven's persuaded me, like Sam has to die. And Cass has changed his tune on Sam. I mean,
Yeah, he has.
and you know,
In such a big way. He claims Sam as his friend.
Mhm.
And that's so
Yeah.
important.
and he says, you know, you come near Sam Winchester and I will kill you.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Like it's so, and it's like so, like it's like you get that. It's like I love those moments with Cass where you just are reminded. Like sometimes he's just like this nerdy little dude, and then sometimes you get reminded that he's an angel. And like
Yeah.
that moment with Anna is my moment where you're like, right,
Oh yeah.
you are
Yeah,
an
You
angel.
are an ancient being.
You have done a lot of, you know, smiting.
Yeah. It's a good moment for Cass. Sam deserves to be protected after all the shit he's been going through.
Honestly.
It's nice to see Sam coming, or Cass coming to his defense and being like, that's
What a home.
that's not how we're gonna stop the apocalypse. Like I care about Sam Winchester.
No matter what, the answer is no. Like,
Which, you know, just for his relationship with Sam in general. Also, I think because of his relationship with Dean, you know,
he
Sam.
needs to make sure Sam's okay. If he protects Sam, then that's extra brownie points for Dean.
True.
Yeah, like he cares about Sam as an individual, but I think at this point in his arc, he still cares about Sam more because Dean cares about Sam and he cares about what Dean cares about.
Mhm.
Yeah. But now it's he's my friend.
But he's gotten so much closer to Sam as time has gone on.
It's so wholesome. Can't wait to see more.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have good news. There's many more seasons.
I mean,
Yeah.
they've just assembled as the team
Yeah,
free
Sam,
will.
Yeah.
Sam Cass, bestieism for the win.
Oh, yes. To pivot us a little bit, the shot of Anna landing on the cars, like the wings, engraved
Oh,
wings
yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
car, is like iconic. It's one of my favorite like shot in this season.
Hmm
Like it just,
It's
I
so
just
good.
love it. It's so.
It's a really good one.
This whole episode's visually so nice.
Yeah, like Supernatural doesn't always cinematography super well, but when it does, oh boy, howdy, it makes some good choices.
And the vibe of this episode, the 70s aesthetic, they really nail it.
Oh yeah,
They committed. It was
yeah, they
impressive.
committed to the bit.
Mhm.
Okay, but so that brings us right into talking about the time travel of the episode.
Yeah.
The Back to the Future reference.
He just admits it. I don't understand that right.
I like to use that sound sometimes, or that quote, when sometimes my pop culture knowledge is limited because of like the way I grew up and like what I wasn't allowed to watch. And so sometimes when someone will like reference something that I don't understand, I don't understand that reference as my own reference.
And they probably don't understand that
No.
reference.
No, they don't. Because usually it's not y'all. Usually it's someone in my life who hasn't seen Supernatural, and then
course.
it's just a private little joke just for me.
But we love that for you.
That's okay.
You like a DeLorean without enough plutonium? I like that he's gotten to the point where he's just acknowledging to Dean. He's just like, you know what? No,
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know what
you-
you're talking about,
you-
man. I'm confused.
If you want that to hit, explain it.
But
Please.
see, if Cass was more suave, he would have swerved that into a date. He'd be like, "Well, why don't you show me that movie, honey?"
But he's not. He's not that
No,
smooth.
he's not. That's
No,
the-
he's not suave at all. He's a
No.
nerdy little guy in a trench coat, as we were just saying. He's just a
he's,
little guy.
or as Dean says in this episode, he's tough for a nerdy little dude with wings, which is an
Yes.
interesting way to talk about your friend, but okay.
Oh,
Wink,
that's a good
wink.
segue. Let's talk about Dean dropping him off at the hotel and the absolute. It's so gay.
So good.
That's the only way I can sum it up. It's so gay. Affectionate.
Really is.
He drops him off in the honeymoon suite.
I
For why,
mean-
Dean? For why?
I mean, they do it for practicality so that nobody will
I know.
go in
but-
there, but you
But
know,
also,
I mean, Kaz is unconscious for most of this episode.
yeah, true.
Oh,
But
we don't condone that at all. But
No.
but you know,
it's a choice.
he does take very good. They both Sam and Dean, but Dean particularly they're taking very good care of Cass. They're making sure that while they are fucking around and finding
Oh,
out.
do you guys think that he tucked him in?
Oh,
That'd be so-
absolutely.
Gave him a
For
little
sure.
teddy bear.
Seems reasonable.
Made
Do
sure
you
his
think
head
that
was
the bed
nice and
had
comfortable.
roses on it because it's the honeymoon suite? I think it did. And he probably had to swipe them off. Felt really
Yeah.
awkward doing so.
So when Cass wakes up, he's in the honeymoon suite, and there's just like these rose petals on the floor,
Yeah.
little chocolate
He's
on
like,
the pillow next to him, and he's like, "What the fuck is
What's
actually
going on?"
what's happening?"
Bottle of champagne, and he's like, "Ooh."
That's
I
not
think I'm
enough to
starting
do
feel
anything, though. We've established that that is not a single bottle of champagne isn't doing anything for Cass.
Nothing. Dean getting zapped back in time and saying, I mean, the mustaches alone. Some big queer energy.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. The yes, him pointing out the
He's
mustaches is
loving
super.
it.
But he just like gets so excited about being back even though last time it was very bad. Like
Yeah.
not a good thing that last time. It
Yeah.
was very tragic. He had to watch like both of his grandparents die last time.
Yeah.
He's still so excited to be back.
He's like, let's go pop in on the folks. Like, it's no big deal
Yeah.
that they've just traveled back in time, and it's going to be a huge, big moment for Sam, who has
Well,
not
yeah.
experienced this before.
Which leads to another one of my favorite sets of lines, which is, what are we going to tell them? The truth? What, that their sons are back from the future to save them from an angel gone Terminator? Those movies haven't even come out yet.
Which is so good because Dean he uses pop culture to relate to everybody,
And what's he
It's so
supposed
good.
to do if he's in a timeline where Terminator doesn't exist?
Can't make that reference.
Because if he does it wrong, he might inspire it.
Yeah.
He doesn't
gotta
want
be
Dean.
careful.
This is Dean being afraid to butterfly affect the Terminator movies out of existence.
So yeah, Dean or Dean is responsible for the Terminator movies. I like that timeline better.
You time travel, what movie are you going to try to make happen?
Oh, that's a good question.
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
But then you're like the books or the movie.
The books.
Okay.
Like I'm time
'Cause then I
traveling
want
to
then I
that
want to be
pub.
responsible for Star Trek if I can go for just general franchises. I want to go back and plant that idea in Gene Roddenberry's head.
Yeah.
For Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like I want to go to the pub where like C.S. Lewis and that's what we'll do. We'll make it like a group thing. You can inspire Narnia. I'll inspire Lord of the Rings. Noah, what are you inspiring?
I don't know.
Pick one. Go for it.
I mean, I might as well start Star Wars. If you've got Star Trek,
Hell
I'll start Star Wars.
Yeah.
We'll
Go
get it
have
all.
a beer
It'll be
with
fine.
George.
We're just gonna be that
Bring
big
that
trip.
about for us.
Oh my god, it'd be so fun. It'd be a great conversation.
That
you
is such
don't
a
know
fun
this
question.
yet.
I'm so glad you said that. I was gonna say I do have one like slightly it's sad point to bring up. So I don't know if we want to maybe mention that one and then get into other fun stuff.
Sad point. Yeah.
Yeah, sad
point?
stuff. Let's do it. It was something I saw, I think it was in a TikTok edit, and I had never really noticed it before until I was, watching it a couple weeks ago.
I think I know what you're gonna reference here.
No.
Yeah, I saw
And
it.
it's the way that Dean is so relaxed when he's talking to Mary. And the minute John steps into the frame, even though it's not like his John, like the John that raised him, tightens up Soldier immediately.
It's the second before it's John's walking down the hall and like clears his throat before getting to the door, and that's what sets him off, and because it's the same throat clearance, like, and that would make
he knows it's still John. It's still John, and the reaction they both have, because Sam also kind of like howls a little bit, like Sam backs and just sort of looks a little bit like guarded.
Yeah,
like, they both go guarded in very different ways.
They both tense up extremely, and I just think that it's just one other. I mean, we're the John Slander podcast, and so we got to mention these things
all day, every day.
Other than like John in this episode is
pretty sweet.
It's pretty sweet. Like this John is a hard John to reconcile with later John, because
especially with the whole conversation he has with Sam.
Yeah. Oh.
Where he's deliberately calling out everything that John did to them. He does to them.
Yeah. He's got the indignation he has where he goes, who the hell does that to a kid? And then when it's pointed out that like Mary's parents raised her as a hunter, he's like, I don't care. That's bad. What kind of irresponsible bastard lets a child anywhere near all this shit?
Ugh.
Like he identifies the number it would have done on their head,
yeah.
But so the thing is about that, the flip side of that coin is the intensity with which he
that
says
is where we recognize the
that's where
John.
You're like, oh, there's John. You just realize that he has that level of intensity for whatever it is that he happens to care about at the moment. But before he's had a chance to, have everything and lose it all, he's like very vehement about protecting what he wants to have. But once he loses it, he still has all that intensity. He just has to channel it in a different way. And unfortunately, he's the classic lives long enough to see himself become the villain.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I love that they do the moment with the sigil, and I love the conversation that Dean and John have, where Dean goes like, "Oh, like that's for a moment you really reminded me of my dad," and it's that again, like that intensity you pointed out. It's the moment where John is going, "Where does the sigil need to go?" And Dean's like, "You don't want to do that. Like it's got to be done in blood," and John's like, "Where the fuck does it need to go?" Like
He's so extra.
stares Dean in the eye and like slashes his hand for the blood, which is like, yeah, so just like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
And if you tell me I can't do it, I'm gonna do it quicker and more angry.
Yeah, if I'm determined, if I believe that I'm right or believe that I should do something, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm not actually going to listen to what someone is saying to me.
Yeah.
And like, he doesn't want to be the only one out of the loop, which he very quickly realizes he's the only one out of the loop. And he's mad about that. And he's trying to catch up and, you know, all of that too. I have a question if either of you have a thought about, they explain away Samuel's death. They say it was a heart attack, but they don't talk about Deanna at all, who also dies in 503.
But what does she die of?
She dies from like the demon kills her, but they don't talk about her in this episode. So like, what does John think? Like Samuel and Deanna both die on the same day.
Yeah, like does he think they died of like a joint heart attack? Like,
and why don't they mention Deanna in this
situation where she dies of heartbreak because she lost her man?
Interesting. That is odd. They don't mention her at all. Dean mentions her later on when he
says her
says
neck is broken. Like I'm pretty sure, isn't her neck broken? Isn't that how she dies?
That's
so like that's hard to explain away. So I just have some questions about in between 503 and like in between the previous time we saw that Mary and this time.
Maybe she's alive. I think she's up and kicking. She survived the neck snapping and
from Azazel?
Yeah.
She's still okay. Yeah.
What theory?
Okay.
Let's talk about that.
Hey, that's why they don't talk about her. They just she's alive and she's just living her own life. Mary got out, and so she got out.
Azazel killed her.
I don't know. And it's hey, this is a world of angels and demons.
Maybe Deanna is in the same place where Deanna in the Winchesters was.
So who the fuck knows?
Purgatory.
She's on the road truck driving. So we're gonna yada yada her.
I imagine we'll get another time.
Yada yadaization of Deanna Campbell is very frustrating.
Yeah, I just wish that we got reference to her because she was great.
She inspired the name of the main character. So like
well, and they make the connection between like Sam being like because they're pretending at that early on in the episode that they are just like cousins of Mary's.
Sam
was a Mary. Like Mary's father was a Sam. And so they make that connection, but also like Mary's mother wasn't Deanna. Why are we not also making that connection? There's some inconsistencies that make me a little annoyed.
A little frustrating.
Again with Sam, this is like the second episode in a row where Sam doesn't know how to talk to people. Like last episode, it was him with the like family when he's body swapped and he's just saying all of the wrong things. And this episode,
every wrong thing
says to Mary, like, you're so beautiful. And like, and then Dean has to be like, we're not being weird here.
He totally means that in a normal way, for sure.
A wholesome family kind of way, like, stop talking.
Yeah, it's like sweet boys, my dears.
It's okay. Both neither Sam nor Dean have normal reactions to seeing their parents from the past.
No. I really liked getting to see Uriel again. I kind of forgot that he had died, not gonna lie. But it was great to see him again. I was like, oh, love that guy.
He gets to come back, be his humorous self.
He's the funniest angel.
In the garrison.
He's
always happy to do some smiting.
Cracking jokes, smiting skulls.
Him and Anna being on the same side in this fight. Which
is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And her pulling rank on him.
Yeah.
Very fun.
That
very
was
good.
Very good.
As much as Anna's on like I'm gonna murder the Winchesters rampage in this episode, I still love her.
I appreciate her girl bossing.
Yeah. I'm like, you know what? She very nearly almost does it.
Yeah.
They have to pull in literally Michael. Michael has to get involved to make sure that Anna doesn't get this done.
Michael's first appearance. Okay. Taking John's vessel, which, the bloodline being the carrying of the vessel ability. Yeah. Okay.
Confirmed. Yeah. So it's a Winchester. Sense. It's a Winchester. Confirms like that it's a Winchester bloodline. That Michael bloodline is the Winchester bloodline.
Yeah. Which is very interesting.
I always wonder the what ifs on if it had been Mary's side. I always feel like that's interesting to see.
I think it's interesting that it's John.
Righteous man, my ass. Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that John gives in to Michael that quickly, that fast.
Yeah.
He says yes right away.
Yes. I was listening to Driver Picks the podcast and their episode on this one, and they pointed out that there's no fucking way that John Winchester would have lasted longer than Dean in hell.
No.
Not a
we
chance.
just
Oh,
no.
yeah.
Lie by the absolutely a lie by the demons.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like
For
absolutely
sure.
Alistair just lying his ass off.
Yep. This just
Yeah,
further
there's-
proves it. He would not hold out any
No.
longer than he wanted to, or it's
He
ridiculous.
immediately gives in, and like in this episode he's giving in for like what he thinks are the right reasons. He's trying to protect
Yeah,
himself
because
and Mary.
especially because if once he's in hell, he's got nothing left.
Yeah.
What's the care at that point?
The actor did do a really solid job of portraying two separate characters, because Michael was very menacing, while this John was a little bit more relaxed and sweet,
Is it Matt Cohen? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Matt Cohen. Yeah, he's great. He's a
Icon.
gem.
It's he plays Michael so like very like cold and detached. It's
Mhm.
interesting like comparing the way he plays John, like how Michael is being portrayed versus how Lucifer is being portrayed, because like Michael's very like by the books. He's very cold and like crisp in his like communication. Lucifer, when Lucifer's been in scenes, he's like appealing to like passion and emotion to try and convince Sam. Whereas it's just very interesting. We're getting this like big contrast between these two brothers.
Logic versus emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Like, what's the right thing to do on the books versus what's the right thing to do in your heart are like, and it's a shame that like that Lucifer is the one who's like using emotion, because I think emotion is often the more powerful thing, and that's what makes him such a good villain, I think, in this season.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he, like, appeals to people with their dead lovers, like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Whereas Michael's appeal is this is the right thing to do. His appeal is like, I love my brother, but I'm gonna kill him because it's right, because God said so.
Because I'm a good son.
Which
Oh.
like Dean saying you still do whatever God says. Yeah, and then Michael with that, I am a good son. And Dean, take it from someone who knows that is a dead end street. Like him being able to say that to
The growth.
John.
An
Like he's saying
archangel?
that to an archangel, but he's saying that to an archangel who is wearing the younger version of his father, which is just like these layers of like
Yeah.
him.
Healing.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Him being able to be like being a good son, actually a dead end street.
Specifically
things just-
for you,
yeah.
John Winchester.
But also appealing to Michael. He's also going like,
Yeah.
for the same reasons that like I thought following my father was the good call, and it turned out to be a dead end street. Like he's going like, you want to smite the whole planet, like just because God said so?
Okay.
Get some therapy, pal. Don't take it out on my planet.
Which, okay, Dean, just a few episodes ago, you were in a mental health clinic and did not do anything about it. So you're not one to talk.
Yeah, if we're gonna talk resistance to therapy
It's
in the
genetic.
dictionary, it's
It's in the bloodline.
genetic. It's in the bloodline. That's what's really in the blood. Your father's blood, your family's blood. It's resistance to therapy.
Resistance to therapy.
It's like a self-protection thing in the vessel ability.
I want to talk about this bit that August has in the notes here. August, do you want to read that since you had it written down?
Yeah, it's right after this conversation about like doing what God says, and Michael says to Dean, "One unimportant little man, what makes you think you get to choose?" And Dean replies, "Because I gotta believe that I can choose what I do with my unimportant little life." And this quote has always been a really important one to me, like personally, like when I first watched the show like 10 years ago. Yeah, thinking about that concept of like choosing what to do with your life, even if it is sometimes feels unimportant,
Very
believing that
important.
that choice still matters, that believing that free will isn't an illusion, which like Michael says free will's an illusion, and Dean being like, it can't be.
It can't.
Yeah, because it's like just reiterating what you said. That's one of my favorite moments of like not just like this season, but I love the lines that just sum up the show.
Yeah.
In short order, and I think that one in particular, Dean's response, like, I gotta believe that I get to choose. And that's when you take just that even little bit of that quote is, I think, Dean's whole motive in life.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
he has to believe that he's being led by free will. And that's why I love that this is, he says the free will is an illusion. Like he's trying to get Dean to believe that like he doesn't have a choice. And that's just, I don't know if that's something Dean Winchester's ever going to stop believing. Like he always believes he has a choice. And that's what I think makes him such a good egg.
Yeah, that's facts.
Yeah. It's a very important like establishing scene, I think.
Very important to see Michael in the flesh, in a flesh, and the stakes have been raised even higher.
Yeah.
Yet again.
Yep. Well, yeah, we're seeing the lengths to which heaven will go to make sure that the Winchesters survive to long enough to say yes. Both Lucifer and Michael have made it extremely clear that they're not going to let these two die.
Very interesting. I think it's also important to talk about Mary's response to finding out the brothers are actually from the future again. And
they straight up tell her the truth.
She's devastated.
She's crushed that there's even potential that her kids could be hunters.
And for a
Destroys
moment,
her.
she thinks it's that she raised them to be hunters. She says, I raised my kids to be hunters. Like, she doesn't even say we.
Yeah.
She like takes that entirely on herself.
She knows that John's gonna be a shithead as soon as there's responsibility involved. She can feel it.
Oh, that's even worse of
Terrible.
a interpretation.
Oh, that reading breaks my heart a little.
And I mean, I'm glad they're able to. It's nice that Sam and Dean are able to like basically be like, no, like you didn't raise us to be hunters. You're dead.
On her face when she finds out that she's dead. She's like, oh my god, thank goodness. That's so.
At least I didn't fuck my kids up. That's all John.
Wow. Way to articulate her priorities. Like, oh, thank God I died instead of ruining my kids.
That scene is like a bunch of like 1-2 punches after the other, because immediately after that, Sam is like, you can leave, John. If you leave, John, we aren't born.
Dean is like, hey, remember this day and it'll save you. And Sam is like, no, fuck that. Leave Dad. Get out of the picture.
He's like, actually, let's just eliminate this before it even becomes a possibility.
And then the line where Dean's like, there's a big difference between dying and never being born. Like, and just the fact that he and Sam are both so quick to be like, sure. Because it's like, they never asked to exist. They didn't ask for any of this. They didn't sign up for it.
There's a difference between dying and never being born. And trust me, we're okay with that. Like
that realization that they're like, Sam says to Mary, he's like, you're going to die. Your children are going to be cursed. We can eliminate that curse. Like if we can actually, you walk away from John, that curse can't happen. Like we don't get to be cursed.
Right after that, Jensen Ackles says, this is the way. And in today's society, it's a little bit different.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's good. I would love to see Jensen Ackles as a Mandalorian. That would be phenomenal. And
I would know if Jensen ends up in Star Wars, it's fucking over for me. I'm done.
God, he'd be so good.
A fork in me.
He could be the original Vizsla Mandalorian with the creating the Darksaber. Oh God, yeah, that'd be good.
Stop talking, Noah.
Yep. Okay.
Can't handle Dean Winchester and the Darksaber.
This is good because I was looking for a place to stick a comment about another reference, so now I can do it. When they're doing the sigils, and Dean is, I think, explaining it to John, the angel vanishing sigil, and he says, "We put this up. She comes close. We beam her right off the starship," which is another Star Trek reference. Which at least that reference John could understand.
That one tracks.
Yeah, Star Trek. That's how old Star Trek is.
And it also, it's a nice little callback because John in 503, John makes a Star Trek reference when he sees Dean's phone.
Yep.
So it's a nice little like, I like to think of it as Dean remembering that that's a reference that his dad knows.
I'm sure he did. Bless his heart.
We know Dean connects with people through pop culture, so like that's Dean's also way too excited about when they're sitting in the car and he's like, Sam, elbow Sam, it's an awkward family road trip.
Like look at this.
Like, so help me, I have to turn this car around.
Dean's like, all I've wanted is to have an awkward family road trip with my parents. And Sam's like, this is actual hell.
So uncomfortable.
This is my worst case scenario.
Sam's like, this is reminding me of every time that I sat in the car when John was angry. It's actually terrible.
So just any time sitting in a car with John.
Every memory with his father.
But okay, that's the other conversation I think we need to talk about is the conversation that Sam and John had, which we referenced before, but Sam's piece in that, like what Sam says to John, I think it's really interesting to compare like what Dean says, where Dean talks to, like when he's talking to Michael, but it's, John's body, and he's talking about like obeying your dad and following him is a dead end road. Whereas like on the flip side, Sam's moment with John is about like how he used to be mad and hate him, but now he thinks John was doing the best. Like him and Sam have like entirely flipped in their opinions about John from season 1.
It's really interesting to watch that part of their growth as the show progresses.
And it makes perfect sense. It's so good. The journeys they've been on have pushed them so far in different directions.
Almost like Sam needed to get to the place where he could like forgive John for what happened to them, and Dean needed to get to the place where he could actually like hold John accountable.
Yeah, he never did that. He put up with so much because Sam had his chance to rebel when John was alive, and Dean was always trying to be, you know, the quote good little soldier. And now that he's gone, he realizes how much he was giving up by living his life according to someone else's rules.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
Sam has like this flip side where, you know, he's looking back and being like, oh, there's so much more I could have done, and Dean's like, yo, I did everything for you, and now it's my turn to live.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's also very interesting to think that Sam goes from this conversation with this great closure that he gets with his father, or the memory of his father, and then immediately goes and tells his mother to leave his father. Like, he's like, okay, I've gotten this closure. Now you can go. It's fine. We can
get you out of this. But of course
that's the Sam Winchester long con.
I forgive him. I won't help him be happy.
Yeah, I forgive him, but I also am like not going to enable. If we can prevent him from this, let's do that. Them find like the acting in this episode, like when Mary tells them like it's too late, and that she's all like Dean's face when he realizes that like
what that means, like
what that means.
That he is in the room.
That makes
twice.
Okay, he's there twice in the room, which it feels like there should be some repercussions for.
Well, I mean,
this isn't Doctor Who, and they don't have time to unpack all that.
And I guess we've had that before in 2014 when we had.
Do they deal with paradoxes later on? I imagine they do. Okay, right? Like this is alternate universes and multiple people being in the same.
You'll have to wait and see.
If they set rules about that later on, then that's great. But this could just be a sign that Supernatural is very pro-choice, and it's not quite Dean yet. You know.
Well, then there's that reading.
You know what? But yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so like we're coming to the end of the episode, and then we get the Team Free Will.
Well, wait. Right before that, Anna gets burnt up and is okay. Who?
Michael.
Michael does it.
Michael kills Anna.
He's as if he didn't know he was enough of a threat. He just burns her up.
What's crazy is that Anna succeeds. Like she does kill Sam.
Yeah.
And it's only because John brings him back, which it kind of proves the point that like what Anna, which is interesting in terms of like a lore piece, because Anna's been commissioned and like manipulated by heaven, by people by like angels in heaven. Someone in heaven's higher ups is manipulating Anna into trying to kill Sam. Michael, who presumably is on heaven's side, it's interesting because like Michael wants this fight between him and Lucifer. The angels just want Michael to win, and they think, oh, we take out Lucifer's vessel, we make it harder for him.
He wants the big confrontation.
Michael wants the confrontation.
Yeah, because the confrontation is his whole purpose.
Yeah. It's just interesting because it's kind of setting like the angels and Michael on like they want the same end, but they are not on the same page about how to get there. Like they want the fight, they want the heaven and hell showdown, but they're willing to like they would like to take the easier. They would like to like cut some corners,
save some lives.
Or maybe, I'm not sure that they want to save lives. I feel like the angels want to give Michael a better shot, maybe.
Yeah. It's like
Dean versus
they're trying
maybe they don't fully believe
at a disadvantage, because it's one thing to fight Lucifer in the vessel that he was destined for. It's another thing to fight Lucifer in a vessel that is like falling apart at the seams and being held together by duct tape and dreams.
Which maybe reveals that the angels are actually more scared of Lucifer than they're letting on.
I think they're terrified.
They've been posturing like obviously Michael's gonna win this thing.
Because Lucifer's just a half step down from Michael, and Michael just burnt Anna.
They're both archangels.
Yeah, so they're I think a little more scared of Lucifer than they'd like to let on, and they seem to have a good reason to be, because Sam does not seem to be able to be killed.
Yeah, he's like the Energizer Bunny, that guy.
Keep on kicking.
Which we're glad for.
Can't keep a good Winchester down.
That's why John stayed down.
Yeah, no one's raising John from the dead.
There it is. No, I don't know if you can understand the depths to which I love you for that.
I try.
So tag yourselves.
Ooh.
Are you a junkie, the dropout with $6 to your name, or Mr. Comatose over there?
No, somebody else go first. Wait, I think we have to
I'll go
poke
first.
other
Okay, you
people.
go first. You go first, Elena.
Yeah, I will gladly tag myself as Mr. Comatose over there, because that's probably what I'll be after we're done recording is mixed Comatose over in the corner.
I don't know if I can. Okay, the thing is, so I
Just
just.
how you feel today.
How do I feel today? I just graduated, so I can't really call myself a dropout. I just graduated.
Post grad with $6 to your name.
Yeah, but I feel like the second part applies, you know? I'm a just recently in student debt graduated with $6 to my name.
That tracks. That tracks.
Relatable.
Yeah.
Ex-blood junkie. That's me.
Yeah.
Sorry, Noah. We really
No, it's fine. It's fine.
left you with.
I feel like I relate more to Dean, but that's a pretty Sam type of thing to feel. So
Yeah. Well, because see, and that's the flip side. If we're just going by these goofy phrases, that's who I'd be. But if we're going by actual characters, I'm absolutely fucking Dean. Like I'm always Dean. I'm so coated it hurts. Like I'm wearing a Henley right now, for God's sakes. Like, come on.
but in the instance of Team Free Will, that's us. Ex-blood
us.
junkie.
One college graduate with $6 to their name, and mixed Comatose over here.
Mixed Comatose over there. Also, I just like appreciate that's not funny. I'm not laughing. As if,
like this
Sorry.
isn't a joke. This is our reality, Sam.
it's our
That was
reality.
just a description.
Like this is where we're at, brother.
Said X.
Yeah.
Team Free Will. It is like iconic. It is like an iconic thing that the show kind of became known for. Like in terms of like that phrase.
Yeah.
And knowing these like this set of characters. I think this also really cements the like how foundational, how much Cass has like become Cass has become a main character. And if you didn't know it before, like this is the moment I think where you cannot deny that Cass is a main character. Like he is
More
This
so
is
than
Team Free
Bobby.
Will.
This is them bumping him up a level, you know?
True, yeah. This is like Cass has a different role than Bobby does. Bobby is a side character, Cass is a main character narratively. So
Big
take
protagonist.
that. Anyone who says Supernatural got worse after Cass arrived.
The door's
You're
over
wrong.
there. Enjoy the other podcast on the internet.
There's probably one out there.
Yeah.
An anti-Cass podcast.
We wish you well. Have the day you deserve, etc.
It seems like that's such a short podcast to do because you only have three seasons, and
I
then
wait for the day that we have an anti-cast guest on by accident, obviously, but they show up and they're like, "Oh, fuck that guy," and we all get to explain to me how he's a word. Like,
Well, it's gonna
okay,
be really fun whenever we can manage to get my roommate on because he's just gonna slander everyone. So it's gonna be
oh,
really
I mean that's isn't that's not much
part
different
of the
from what
MO
we do.
if I would want him on.
it'd feel like. Have you ever talked to a flat earther?
I have.
I have. I accidentally dated one.
That shit is like
Always ask these questions before you start dating kids. Always.
Make sure you know if your partner is a
you
flat
dated
earther.
a flat earther?
Yes. It was,
Oh, sweetheart.
oh,
Please tell me that.
Okay, how far into dating did you like find this out?
well, okay. I found out 3-4 months in. But
Oh,
ouch.
when I say found out, I thought it was a joke because I continued
Right.
the joke and they didn't say anything about it.
of
I'm like,
course,
oh,
that's
yeah, so yeah,
natural.
it's a joke. Cool. And then it was like another 8 months later. Oh,
You're like, no,
wait. So you really? Oh,
that's not a joke.
You-
that revelation came with quite a few other revelations that were not also great too. So it tracks.
Wow.
The last scene of this episode, maybe the last thing we should talk about, is Mary and John standing over the crib with the angel figurine.
Because the angel figurine is watching over Dean.
Yeah, specifically Dean. And it's kind of like half.
It's pretty haunting.
It's pretty haunting because both it's like this sweet moment of like angels are watching over you, aka Cass, but also
Yeah.
like angels are watching over you, aka Michael.
Yeah.
Like, it's also vaguely threatening.
I like to think of it more as the threatening because if I think about it as Cass watching over him, Dean was literally just born and Cass would look the exact same. So it's
Well, I mean,
like-
Cass wouldn't have because Jimmy
Oh,
Novak
no.
wouldn't be
no,
born.
sorry. Cass like mentally would be the
Oh,
exact same.
okay.
you
I
know?
mean, yeah,
for
it's
him,
not-
the amount of time between Dean being born and him meeting Dean in person is like
And that would just be
a hair's breadth. It's nothing.
Yeah, let's not.
So now that we know who amongst Team Free Will we are, I think it's time for us to get a little meta. So we're going to be going meta and talking about lore, representation, behind the scenes trivia, and some more. Start off with our representation check.
Rep check.
Pretty rough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like there's a lot to say that we haven't already said or like anything super significant. We've lost another female character. We don't pass the Bechdel test.
We've erased a female character with Deanna.
We've not, yeah, exactly. We've literally just like
absolute erasure going on.
Overall, just a disappointing episode.
But also it's also one of my favorite episodes of the season.
Yeah.
In terms of like
it's disappointing in rep, but god damn it, the story's good.
We do get some great representation for Mary that we haven't gotten. You know, she hasn't gotten to tell her opinion on the story at all.
Mary does
entire
get to
time.
be a much fuller person.
She gets to be a character, not just like dead wife on the ceiling.
Yeah, which is great.
I mean, she's still her whole story is still very centered around the men in her life. Like, and I wish we knew more about her as a like hunter and growing up and like things. I wish we knew more about that part of her life.
Yeah.
The Winchester season 2.
Well, even the Winchester season
Hashtag
1.
save
But,
the Winchesters.
yes, please. But I am glad we get to spend time with her, and the actor who plays her in this episode is phenomenal.
Love her. So get this, was looking into the lore, and we have a couple points we already kind of talked about. We've got the establishing of the bloodlines again. We have Michael's first appearance. Time travel.
Yeah, more time travel. We've done a lot of that this season. Fast, backwards, forwards.
Love it.
We don't seem to have any sort of like clear rules on making choices in the past and how they impact the future because everything has kind of gotten erased. Like everything Sam and Dean have really done in the past has just kind of been reset.
Yeah. So we haven't dealt with some real consequences yet, but
other than the car, that's the only like significant specific impact we know we've had.
That's true.
Is that they have the Impala.
So obviously some changes, but I mean that was a change that was already happened in Dean's reality. So it's wibbly wobbly.
That free will piece is coming in interestingly.
Dean was always the reason that was the car. It's always been Dean's car.
Yep.
That's my headcanon, and I'm sticking the fuck to it.
But besides that,
Nothing
not much else.
Yeah, nothing really like super lost canon-y, obviously other than like Deanna.
Yeah.
It's not so much lost canon as it is just like erasure.
Big question mark. Not so much lost canon as it is question canon.
Yeah. And yeah, we did get a mind wipe by Michael at the end of this episode that just resets everything back to.
Which is brutal. I fucking hate mind wipes and I love mind wipes at the same time. Like,
and it's an essential one in narratively to like
make sure they don't know.
Make sure they don't know, but man, would have been interesting if they had remembered anything.
Yeah.
I like to think about what if they somewhere in their subconscious there's still like I wonder if somewhere in John's subconscious this still is hunting, even if he doesn't remember Michael or like everything that happened. If like hunting, like when he becomes a hunter, like 10 years later,
like a hot minute,
when he becomes a hunter, like does some of this come back? Does this like
I wonder if he like has dreams about it and just writes it off?
Ooh,
that would be so
that's
interesting.
What I always wondered because John gets into hunting so quick after Mary dies. That's always made me wonder if it wasn't actually his, like it obviously wasn't his first time encountering the hunting world, but
I bet Mary dies and he immediately goes on a rampage, tries to find whatever he can, and Bobby just happens to be in the same town on a hunt and trains him a little bit. And John takes that little training and runs with it and warps it really badly and is not as good of a hunter, clearly, but that would make sense.
Yeah. It's probably about it for lore.
Yeah. Which brings us to our final segment for today, our fave. It's time to lay out some character blessings. Who wants to go first today?
Go for it, Noah.
I'll go with Dean because Dean needs a lot of blessings this week because he is back in the past and gets to try again to save his mom, just for it to get erased in front of his eyes by the person he's trying to avoid confronting. So
again,
blessings to him and his attempted avoidance techniques, but he needs to listen to his own advice, take some therapy.
Yeah.
What about y'all?
I think I think that I'd like to bless Sam. I think that he is able to express some of the things that he wanted to express to a version of John, and that seems to have brought him some sense of closure. And, Sam not been able to find a lot of closure in this past couple of seasons, and his own choices have come back to haunt him quite a lot. And so I hope that for Sam's sake, extending that to John also means that he will extend some of it to himself, some of that self-forgiveness and compassion towards himself for the decisions he's made, because the decisions he's made, while not always the best decisions, have been well-meaning. And in a lot of ways, he attributes John tried his best, and I absolutely don't believe that. August absolutely does not believe that. I hope that Sam can also believe that about himself, because I think when it comes to himself, Sam actually is trying his best.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
That's blessings for that, for Sam.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and bless Mom. I'm gonna bless Mary.
Yes.
Because does this series screw her over so royally and infinitely and ongoingly. And it's just so sad in this episode, to see that really happy moment in the nursery where for that moment she and John are who they want to be. They're just this happy couple who are about to have a baby, and they got robbed. Particularly Mary, because John had a chance to continue to be that person and to be the father that Mary would have wanted him to be, and he made other choices because he chose what to do with his one little life.
Yeah, full circle there. And Mary never got that.
Mary never got that chance, and so blessings to her for that. And honorary blessing to Anna. All right.
I hate that this is her ending.
Yeah.
I hate that this is her ending. That is the biggest down point for me from this episode, is that I want more of her.
Kind of interesting to think that this might have been Castiel's destiny.
Yeah.
Right.
Or everything all switched.
Yeah.
That would have been so weird.
Yeah. In a different universe, this is Cass's last episode. If Cass doesn't have chemistry with Dean, if Jensen and Misha don't stand close together and look,
Collins,
if they don't stand close together and look at each other the way they do in 503, maybe this is Cass's last episode. But it's not. Thank God.
This timeline, and honestly, as much as it's weird, I'm grateful for it. So that is all we have for y'all today. Thank you, my dears, for joining me.
Yeah.
Of course. This was such a good episode.
So good. Hopefully we've soothed some of your sadness from this episode, Noah.
It helped, for sure.
We hope our discussion is a big warm hug if this episode makes you sad.
And we can't promise that it's going to get any better this season. Unfortunately.
That would be a lie.
Been through it recently. The last few weeks have been loss after loss.
Season 5 is brutal, but it's good.
Taking no prisoners.
And we're going to keep going. We're going to be right back here next week. So to make sure that you hear when we're back next week, you can subscribe to Saving People Queering Things wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to share our show with someone else who likes Supernatural, we would love that.
You can find links to our social media and join our Discord server through our website, queeringthingspodcast.com.
And if you are all caught up on Supernatural and want to go back to before the beginning, you can listen to August and myself, along with our friends Beth and KJ, on Wayward Parents, with updates at Wayward Parents on Twitter or on Tumblr at Wayward Parents Podcasts. And if you feel so inclined, tweet the heck out of and post on every social media platform, #Save the Winchesters, because it's real nice if we got to continue clowning.
You would really like
for another season.
Want another fanfic Jensen Ackles produced season.
Jensen Ackles produced fanfic is my new favorite genre of media, and I'd like another season of it. So #Save
the Winchesters.
Be sure to ride along with us next week as we explore Season 5, Episode 14, My Bloody Valentine.
Thank you all for coming along for the ride, and we wish you a peaceful road until we meet again.